Hello everybody that's watching right now, wherever you are, whatever time it is, whatever it is, period. I'm Tommy Maroon and I'm ready for yet another exciting episode of the Tommy Maroon Sports Show right here on WCTV. And of course, what's a Tommy Maroon Sports Show without its trivia question, which is what we're getting to right now. My question is, who did the Cleveland Browns beat in their last playoff victory? Now the correct answer is the New England Patriots. Yes, the New England Patriots. That's right, we beat the Patriots. Yes, once upon a time the Browns actually did beat New England, of course. And Bill Belichick was the coach of the Browns at the time, defensive coordinator. Get this, Nick Saban. Yes, the greatest, arguably the greatest college football coach of all time, and arguably the greatest NFL coach of all time. Once upon a time, both with the Browns, they had a very poor relationship. Nick Saban hated his term with Cleveland, hated being around Bill Belichick. Now look at where both of them are. Of course, granted, Alabama will not be going playoffs this year, but even so, it is very rare to see Nick Saban on the losing side, and same thing with Bill Belichick, which, by the way, both lost this weekend. Saban and Alabama to Auburn, and Belichick and the Patriots to Houston. Now we got to go from national to local. And when I mean local, I don't mean Cleveland. I mean super local. Medina, Summit, Cuyahoga, and Portage with the high school basketball Suburban League recap, of course. And these results will be on your screen. Now, I could not get all of the scores. It was kind of hard for me. So these are just a few of the scores. Aurora was able to beat Stowe 62-53. Lake beat Copley 53-45. Brunswick beat Highland 61-55. But last night, the Hornets were able to beat Firestone by a score of, I believe, 70-57. Revere beat Padua 87-49. Roosevelt beat Field 45-42. Mayfield beat Nordonia 53-41. And North Royalton really destroyed North Olmsted 91-32. Now, I don't know if these scores are correct or not, but we'll try. But excuse me on it in advance if I've made any mistakes. The schedule rules are pretty easy. A 22-game season, 12 in-conference games for the American Conference, as you get to play 6 teams twice. Like, for instance, Aurora plays Copley twice, Barberton twice, the Hornets twice, Revere, Roosevelt, and Talmadge. Once at home and once on the road. And then 14 in-conference games for the National Conference. So that means if Brecksville, they'll play Cuyahoga, Hudson, Nordonia, North Royalton, Twinsburg, Wadsworth, and try to remember the other one. Sorry about that. Stowe, that's who it is, Stowe. Excuse me on that. A little bit of an issue, probably for me right there. But anyways, 8 to 10 non-in-conference games. For National Conference, you got 8 non-conference games. And for the American Conference, 10, because 12 plus 10 is 22, 14 plus 8 is 22. And the team with the best in-conference record wins the respective conference. However, much to my disappointment, I gotta admit, both of these teams, or the American Conference and National Conference winners, do not square off in the championship game. There is no championship game. Though I'd like to see it one day, and you never know. We gotta see what to look for next week and so on. Can the Hornets rebound? Why, they have rebounded against Firestone, of course. We'll see if they could still continue to rebound. And will Revere continue their dominance? Of course, Revere really put a complete record in Padua. So we'll see if they can continue it. Same thing with North Royalton with North Olmsted. Can they keep up the pace? Barberton, the Magics will be going to Highland on Friday at Highland High School in beautiful Granger, Ohio, Friday night. And that game will be on the Highland Hornet Sports Network on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the Highland Hornet Sports Network. We're already at 49 subscribers as our YouTube channel continues to grow. Of course, it's a lot of fun. So is this show here on WCTV. Can't lie about that. And I can't lie about the next stuff I'm going to talk about, the Cleveland Cavaliers. So player stats are, well, Colin Sexton, 17.8 points per game. Kevin Love, 17.3 points per game and 11.1 rebounds per game. Jordan Clarkson, 14.2 points per game. Tristan Thompson, 14.1 points per game and 10.4 rebounds per game. We got to look at the Cleveland Cavaliers uniforms because, in case you don't know, uniforms have gone from a little thing to a huge thing. Ever since Nike won the rights to NBA uniforms, they have really changed. Now, one issue I have with them are the sponsors. Of course, you can see the Goodyear winged shoe right there. But otherwise, you gotta admit, the NBA uniforms are getting even better. So many different types of uniforms that nobody could have imagined a few years ago. And the Cavs are not an exception to that. As the City Edition has CLE on it. They were introduced last night and they're similar to the early 70s uniforms. Those are not the City Edition, by the way, but the City Edition is navy because of the late 2000s jerseys the Cavs wore. And the icon uniforms are white. The association uniforms the association uniforms are white. The icon uniforms are wine. I made a mistake right there. Statement uniforms are black, and the classic uniforms right there on your screen, they represent the Guns Arena era, 1994 to 2003. Of course, they're rebranding to the wine and gold, coincided with LeBron being picked in 2003 NBA draft. Anyways, there are special courts that are used for each uniform. So, like for instance, last night when the Cavs played the Pistons, there was a special court that said CLE on it. So now we gotta look at the scores. Cavs against the Magic, and the Magic won 116 to 104. Evan Fournier put up 30 points, Jonathan Isaac 16, DJ Augustin 8 points and 10 assists. Colin Sexton had 20 points, Tristan Thompson 13 points and 15 rebounds. Larry Nance Jr. had 11 points and 10 rebounds. The Magic were leading since the end of the first quarter. Cleveland went 5-13 and Orlando went 7-10. And after that, we played those Milwaukee Bucks, and the Milwaukee Bucks did what the Milwaukee Bucks do best. They routed us 119 to 110 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Notice those uniforms by Milwaukee. But anyways, Giannis put up 33 points and 12 rebounds. There's Giannis doing Giannis things. George Hill had 18 points. And for the Cavs, Darius Garland had 21 points. Cedi Osman had 20 points. And Giannis, did I ever tell you that man has really been setting the NBA on fire? Because he has really been one of the biggest guys. Tristan Thompson, 11 points, 13 rebounds. And the Cavs outscored the Bucks in the second half, luckily. But anyways, 16-3 won the Bucks, and the Cavs won 5-14. Of course, Giannis, one of the best in all of the NBA. Probably the greatest player from Greece, of course. It just goes to show the global phenomenon the NBA has had. Remember, 1 out of 3 players in the NBA were born outside the U.S. Just goes to show that this is really big culture right here, and you gotta love it, and you really have to. Some of the best, brightest stars born outside the United States, like Giannis and Luka. Of course, Luka doing a great job in Dallas. Who would have thunk it at the beginning of the season, the Lakers and the Mavericks are doing great. We'll see if Luka can carry the Mavericks. He may be a captain in the All-Star game. So far, my 2 captains, well, I've been talking about them. Team Giannis against Team Luka, in my opinion, so far for the All-Star game. Because in case you don't know, the All-Star game is no longer Eastern-Western Conference, but rather like a pickup street ball game, which makes it a little more fun. So that's what I say. And they're team captains, like when you're playing outside at a local court outside, of course. Team captains, and they get to pick. Anyways, Cleveland Browns time. Of course, it was not really a good week last Sunday. Baker Mayfield has a 60% completion percentage, as I'm very redundant right there. 2,917 yards, 79.9 rating, 15 touchdowns, and 14 interceptions. Nick Chubb has 1,175 yards, 4.9 yards per carry, 7 touchdowns. Kareem Hunt, 25 carries, 115 yards and 1 touchdown. Jarvis Landry, 65 receptions, 919 yards and 5 touchdowns. That's right, Jarvis has been lighting it up like a pinball machine. And Odell Beckham Jr., 57 receptions, 803 yards, but however, just 2 touchdowns. He's still not doing that bad. Now we got to look at the playoff odds, and here they are. Pretty much a 0% chance to win the division as Baltimore and Lamar Jackson are running away with it. Lamar Jackson will probably win MVP because of how unbelievable he has been in Baltimore. I mean, you talk about something. He came in for struggling and injured Joe Flacco. He takes them to the playoffs last year as a rookie, and now Joe Flacco's in Denver. Jackson has all the spotlight and attention, and he does not disappoint. Lamar Jackson, I'm telling you, that man is definitely going to be one of the most feared quarterbacks in the NFL. Oh, wait, he already is one of the most feared quarterbacks in the NFL. And less than 1% chance to be the first wild card, 6% chance to be the second wild card, and about 6% chance to make the playoffs. And if you do the math, 100 minus 6 equals 94, which means there's a 94% chance to not make the playoffs. Of course, Browns haven't made the playoffs in 17 years. It's getting kind of ridiculous if you ask someone like me. Of course, probably not going to win the division. So the wild cards, it's going to come down between teams like Oakland, Tennessee, Pittsburgh, Indianapolis, and Buffalo. Of course, Buffalo's got the first wild card with these, but who takes the second one? Pittsburgh, Tennessee, or Oakland? That's who I think it's come down to. Maybe the Colts. And, of course, the Browns against the Steelers, trying to get revenge for that big fight on Thursday night in which Garrett got knocked out for the entire season for throwing his helmet, or for throwing Mason Rudolph's helmet at Mason Rudolph. And so without Myles Garrett, how did we look? Well, we lost 2013. Pittsburgh went 7-5 and we went 5-7. Baker went 18 for 32, 196 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. That was a great catch by Jarvis, I just want to say. Nick Chubb had 16 carries and 58 yards. It was a very frustrating game for Chubb, unusually bad. And it really stinged my fantasy team, of course. I lost my fantasy game. I have not been looking that good. 6-7 so far. Yeah, it's not really fun when you're losing fantasy football, but still in a casual fantasy football league like ours, it's still pretty fun. Jarvis had 6 receptions and 79 yards. Devlin Duck Hodges did not look like Daffy Duck because he went 14 for 21, 212 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 INT. Benny Snell Jr., 16 carries, 63 yards, and 1 touchdown. James Washington, 4 receptions, 111 yards, and 1 touchdown. By the way, Rudolph, James Conner, and Juju Smith-Schuster were not in the game at all, as Rudolph was benched for Duck, and Conner and Juju were suffering from injuries. We were up 10-0 at one point, and then it all came crumbling apart. Benny Snell Jr. had the go-ahead touchdown run in the third quarter, and Joe Hayden, yes, that Joe Hayden, who we selected in the first round of the 2010 NFL Draft, sealed the deal with a game-winning interception. And up next, we'll be going up against the Bungles, who won their first game of the season against the Jets. You know what comes next, Jets. And the Steelers will be going to Arizona to play the Cardinals. And, of course, that loss definitely makes those Browns look pretty ugly because of that big fight that happened on Thursday night. I mean, technically, though we go 1-1 against the Steelers, it's really 0-2. And why do I say that? Well, because the fight. It just goes to show, everybody was saying it, they're right. Even when the Browns are winning, they still lose. And it's kind of frustrating to watch that, because that really wrecks our playoff hopes, and it makes us look pretty ugly because of the fight, and it looks like we were the bad guys perpetrating it all. Of course, that's not good for the Browns. Of course, now we look like enemies. Luckily, there was no fight there. Luckily, nobody got hurt due to sheer anger. Now, time to go to the wrap-up. Topics for next week include the same three: high school basketball, Cavaliers, and the Cleveland Browns. And time for my trivia question of the week, as usual, which will be revealed next week, as usual, as I'm repeating myself. Who was a quarterback during the Cleveland Browns' last playoff game? Once again, who was a starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns in their last playoff game? I hope you know this, and we'll find out next Wednesday. So stay tuned.